All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you all for joining us for our ACCM 2025 Get Ready to Advocate virtual rally. Thank you again for joining us. We're going to get started with this webinar. We have a lot of really good information to share with you all. And you can go ahead to that next slide there. Thank you. Shout out to our entire CA for the Arts team as we are in the midst of planning the summit and getting ready for our Arts Advocacy Day on April 22nd and then 23rd. Please take a moment to drop in the chat, introduce yourself, acknowledge your Indigenous land that you reside on, and just remember that this event is being recorded, and the recording, the slides, and all of the resources will be shared out with each of you. My name is Nefesha Yisrael. I'm the Director of Programs here at CA for the Arts. I currently am on Yokuts land here in the Central Valley in Madeira. Thank you. And let's continue to exchange that information in the chat. A little bit of guidelines just to keep us all on track and keep the conversation flowing in a clear way that we can all understand. Questions are welcome at all times. Please be sure to use the Q&A function. It helps us to be able to communicate with you all and track your questions, and then everyone can see our answers at one time. Please avoid buzzwords and explain references or acronyms. For example, we often call Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month ACCM, but not everyone understands that. So be sure to spell out your acronyms, Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month, for example. And please be respectful to your fellow advocates in the chat. If there's any point that you would like to share, again, your questions can be added to the Q&A function, which you'll find at the bottom of your screen. If you're on a desktop or on your phone, you'll see it where it's a little question mark inside of a box. You can go ahead to that next slide, please. All right, and if you need additional support, we have closed captioning. Zoom has this as a resource. You can go down to the bottom of your screen and you'll see show captions, and you'll click the little up arrow there and your captions will then begin to show on your screen. And you can go to that next slide, please. A few Zoom tips here. If you would like to see your screen a little bit better, depending on if you would like to see the speakers or the slides or both at the same time, then you can do the side-by-side option. And you'll see at the top right corner of your screen, it says view with the little boxes. You'll click there and you can click side-by-side gallery, which is very helpful to see the speakers at the same time. And we have an example here of the little gray line that you'll drag across your screen to make it bigger or smaller. And so you can see the slides clearly. Thank you. And we can go to the next slide. All right, a little agenda for today. We're going to be going over our Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month. And then I'll be handling that, and then I'll pass it off to our team to talk more about Arts Advocacy Day. And then we'll get into the meeting resources and a little Arts Advocacy Day orientation. Thank you. And go ahead to that next slide. A little bit about our organizations, and I'll keep this short. Many of you are probably familiar with CA for the Arts, and along with our partnering or sister organization, CA Arts Advocates. CA Art for the Arts is our where we focus on our programming, services, and advocacy networks, and then CA Arts Advocates is where we do a lot of our lobbying for the organization and lobbying for the arts across the state of California. We have some upcoming events. One is actually this Friday, tomorrow in San Diego. If you are in the San Diego area, we invite you to join us for a press launch event. And then on April 18th, we'll be in Oakland if you're in the Oakland area. And then, of course, we have the summit coming up and Arts Advocacy Day at the Capitol. And this entire month, we're celebrating Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month. We can go ahead to that next slide. Great. So Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month. If you're not familiar, this has been 7 years that we've been celebrating this in California. Since 2019, it was declared a concurrent resolution by the state. And in 2021, it was also declared that artists were seen as recognized as second responders. And we've been really building off of this work and continuing to celebrate, socialize the conversation, and celebrate across the state Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month. So hopefully you're doing some local events also in your area to celebrate ACCM. And we can go to that next slide there. And this is a little bit more. As I stated, in 2021, the artists were seen as or recognized as second responders, and we have been able to grow an arts and health initiative led by Jennifer Kuo, who is also on this call. And we're also embedding that into our theme this year with health, healing, and hope. As you see here, we've got this really cool image here that our comms team has gracefully developed, and it says art is health, culture is healing, creativity is hope, and we're really highlighting this health, healing, and hope this year, not just in healthcare, but in other areas across sectors with education, housing, climate, youth development, economic justice. And so we're really looking at how the arts are bringing health, healing, and hope to our communities in a broad, more comprehensive way. And we can go to that next slide. All right. And if you have not already, please do register for the summit. It is on April 22nd. We've got, I was trying to do the calculation. I think that's 19 days. So we hope that you can join us for the summit on April 22nd. It will be this year at the convention center, the Safe Credit Union Convention Center in Sacramento, along with the Memorial Auditorium. We're using 2 locations. They are right down the street from each other, less than a full city block away from each other. And a part of the summit will happen in the morning, and then the rest will happen, part of it in the morning will start at the Memorial Auditorium, and then we'll go to the convention center and finish it off at the Memorial Auditorium. So again, we hope you can join us. We do have artist tickets available, which are half off, and we also have scholarships. I'll drop the link in the chat for scholarships, or one of the team members will. And the scholarships are open. We've got a good amount of scholarships from the city of Sacramento. We are very thankful for the city of Sacramento for supporting this work and being very involved in the process and helping us to make sure that this happens for the arts industry here in California. So we'll get the link for the scholarships in the chat if anyone is interested in, if you're in the city of Sacramento. If you're not in the city of Sacramento, we have statewide scholarships, but they're very limited. So we definitely recommend that you do the application or share it with others, and also get your tickets if you have not for the summit. All right, let's go to the next slide there. I'm going to believe it's Arts Advocacy Day is the next slide. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. We're getting there. And again, this slide deck will be shared with you all after. I'm not sure if it's my screen that is frozen, but we're not going to next slide just yet. Am I alone on that?
No, it's Julie. It's frozen. Jennifer, are you able to advance the slide? Uh-oh.
If not, it's okay. We're going to get to the slides in a second, but we have Arts Advocacy Day coming up, and that is a part of what we'll be talking about today. Arts Advocacy Day will happen on April 23rd. And there we go. And the deadline for registering is tomorrow. So please be sure to register for Arts Advocacy Day. We started off with a press conference and a rally in the morning, and then we go and speak with our respective legislators given our location across the state. And so you'll be able to go speak with your state representatives. It is a great experience, and we highly suggest that you join us for Arts Advocacy Day. And also just want to make note that this is a free event. So if you're in the area and you would like to join us, please be sure to register. Again, the registration closes tomorrow. And we can go ahead to that next slide there.
Oh, I just want to really quickly say that's the registration to actually get in lawmaker meetings. So we can organize them and schedule them, but anybody can come to Advocacy Day and the rally, and we can deploy people to go to legislator offices, even if you don't have a meeting. So if you can't register by tomorrow for your lawmaker meetings, you can still come and join us. Sorry, Nefesha, thanks.
Oh no, that was perfect point. Thank you so much. And we have a lot of fun that day. As you see here in the picture, we've got music, we've got a horn player, drummers, and we do this rally. It's really a lot of fun. So hopefully if you can make it, please join us. And as Tracy said, anyone can come to that, even if you're not registered a day of. All right. And we can go ahead to that next slide there. Thank you. We've got some downloads here. These are our toolkits and recordings. If you've been paying attention, we've been having toolkits laid out throughout the last few months. So we have Activate Locally Toolkit, which is locally activating your communities, your local lawmakers. Here in Fresno, which is where I'm at, we're going to have an event on April 10th where we're activating our community and getting a proclamation from the city for Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month. And then we have Activate State Lawmakers Toolkit, which is available for you to download. And also, all of these you can watch. We have a collection of videos to help prepare you for activating your local area. The Activate State Lawmakers Toolkit is supportive of our Arts Advocacy Day. And that's a lot of information that you'll learn more about what to expect on Arts Advocacy Day and how to activate your state lawmakers. And then we have Activate the Public Toolkit, which is focused on our social media designs created by our comms team. And they are creative designs and messaging for, again, health, healing, and hope that you can share out on social media. And if you've been following us at all, then you'll see some cool like GIFs that you can find on there. You can download some more information, or excuse me, some more resources, such as stickers, posters, op-ed samples, and press release templates. That's all in that toolkit there.
Hey,
And
Natasha, can
yeah.
I address a quick question in the chat? John Stevens, thank you for flagging this question about whether Advocacy Day is in district or in SAC. Advocacy Day is in Sacramento. However, the Activate Lawmakers Toolkit is for anybody who wants to organize a meeting with their legislator, whether coming to Advocacy Day or in district. And we'll go into that a little bit more later, and also, or on Zoom. So the Advocacy Day Lawmaker Toolkit can be used to organize meetings in either places, but Advocacy Day is in Sacramento. Thank you. Sorry.
Oh, you're good. Thank you. Thank you for answering that. All right. We can go to the next slide. And actually, Tracy, I think you are going to take it from here. So I'll pass the mic to you. Thank you.
I think it's actually me.
Oh,
Right.
sorry.
No
We're
worries.
gonna
Good
we're gonna
afternoon,
walk out with Julie first.
Good afternoon, everyone. Great to see you. I'm Julie Baker. I'm the CEO of California for the Arts and California Arts Advocates, alongside this amazing team. And yes, we are running on all cylinders right now. And I'm here to give you the advocacy specific context. And it's great to see some friends in the chat here, some of the attendees, some of the folks who are in our GAP program, Grassroots Artist Advocacy Program, folks that are celebrating Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month. We have some funders here. We've got a wide variety of people here with us, and we're grateful that you're with us today. All right, next slide. So I want to give an overview, and I just want to say this in terms of everything that's going on in the world. This is a focus on state advocacy, although we are very well aware of the impact of what's happening at the federal level as well. We are tracking all of that. We are in a number of different federal advocacy groups. Of course, we're hearing today that the National Endowment for the Humanities, everyone who is a state humanities organization, has received letters saying that their funding has been cut and all their grants are not coming. So we're really cognizant of the environment in which we are all working. We do our best to inform everyone of what's happening at the federal level, state level, and on occasion at local levels as well. But today's presentation is a focus on state. If you do have specific questions about federal and what's going on there, we invite you to ask those in the Q&A, whether we can answer those today or not, or we can certainly follow up with you afterwards. But I just wanted to acknowledge that context. This is definitely not normal times in which we are working, and the impact that will also have in California. So just to give you a quick overview, currently we have about 2,400 bills in a year this year that have been introduced. The governor starts his budget process by introducing a budget in January. This year's budget is a $322 billion budget. When it was announced, it came with a modest surplus of what would sound like a lot of money to all of us, but modest for the state of California, $363 million. We know that all the funding that came during COVID times, ARPA and COVID funds, have been expended. And as I mentioned, a lot of insecurity around federal funding. 30% of the state of California's budget does come from federal government. We're talking about education funds, we're talking about Medicaid, major things that are essential services to California. So there's a lot of uncertainty. There's certain things that we keep an eye on, as well as all the 2,400 bills and the budget process. There's been a multi-year initiative called California Jobs First Blueprint, which is an economic blueprint for the state of California, introduced by the governor and the governor's Office of Business and Economic Development. It's a regional approach And many of you in arts and culture have been a part of those sessions in your regions. There are about 4 regions that really highlight the creative economy specifically. And the governor's overall economic blueprint includes the creative economy, which in historically has more been a focus on film and TV, as obviously film and TV has had a massive economic impact for the state of California. But we also are pleased to see that the economic blueprint also says film, TV, and the arts, which is a really important thing for those of us who are more on the side of the creative economy and arts and culture. There's been a belonging, what they call BCP budget change proposal, which was submitted by an office outside of the California Arts Council. Those of us in arts and culture typically working with the state arts agency. That's something we were looking at as these things were introduced in January, et cetera. Assemblymember Matt Haney has a committee, special committee on downtown recovery that has really acknowledged the important role of arts and culture in terms of recovery of our communities and our downtowns. Just to give you an overall also what has happened here, again, specifically in the state of California, in these last recent budget years, while during COVID times, federal infusion of dollars, we saw amazing investments in arts and culture, significant historic one-time investments. Unfortunately, in the last couple of years, we've started to see cuts to arts and culture in California. So where we've seen them specifically is that last year, the budget cut $5 million to the California Arts Councils for the next 2 years. So that is current this year. Their current funding for local grants assistance is 21 million versus 26, and we'll show some more specifics on that. Unfortunately, also, if you're in the museum world, you're well aware that even after museums had applied, $29.5 million was clawed back. We'll get into more specifics on that. We also saw a cut to arts and parks, a wonderful program, got cut by 11 million. And another great important economic and community development program, cultural districts, was also cut by 20 million. So all told, in the last several years, including what is proposed for this year, a $5 million ongoing cut to the agency, California Arts Council, we're looking at $70.5 million in cuts to arts in California. So really important number for you to be able to, as advocates, be able to speak to in terms of what we would call a disproportionate impact to a really significant industry for the state. Next slide. So this gives you an idea, specifically now talking about the California Arts Council, often referred to as CAC. That is your state arts agency. They just opened grants actually yesterday. So if you, I don't know if Jenica, if maybe you can throw in the link to that, to the CAC's grant making page would be great for those folks to see what grants are available. This gives you a history of the funding. So over the last 10 years, and for 10 years, from 2003 to 13, several of you probably were here for this, it was only $1 million. And that was really to continue to keep the NEA match. And so those were very, very dark and difficult years. And then stair step it up over the last, from about 2013 to 2018, we started to see it increase over those years. A lot of that because of the incredible work of advocates and making the arguments of why that needs to happen. You started to see the increase to the state arts agency's budget. And but what happened in 2018, Governor, Gavin Newsom became the governor in 2019, and it actually, started to get to that 26, but we haven't actually seen an increase to the baseline funding for the Arts Council. You've seen one time, which is what these boxes are, Creative Core, Creative Youth Development, Cultural Districts, those are all one-time bumps, but the base level funding has remained the same since 2018 until we lost 5 million this last year. So, and one of the really important talking points, and Tracy and her team at Field Engagement has done an amazing job of talking points for Advocacy Day that you can also use in district, that talks about how CAC funding is distributed across all counties in the state of California. So it's really important in terms of geographic equity, and it's actually distributed more equitably than private funding in the state of California. We'll go to the next slide. This will give you an idea of California and where we are in relationship to other states. And this is Bureau of Economic Analysis data came out think it was yesterday. So these are brand new. And in fact, we just had to update this slide. And it looks like it didn't get quite updated. So I'll tell you the correction on this, but the slide deck you'll get will have the correct information. But what you can see here is that arts and culture, in terms of value add to the state of California, is a $289 billion industry. The share of the economy is 7.5%. That also puts us as number one in the United States for arts jobs, which is a really significant number, 821,000 jobs. We're actually number three in art share of state of economy. It goes Washington and then New York, which is just ekes out at 7.6% of their share of economy. But what you can also see in this graph here is how important, where we are in terms of actual per capita spend and investments in arts and culture. Now, this is not including film and TV tax credit. This is not including museum grant funds that have happened in the past. It does not include arts and parks. This is specifically to the California Arts Councils and assistance, local assistance grants funding, not their operations, et cetera. So we're looking at 53 cents when we've got $21 million to invest in a close to $40 million population state. And that puts us in a national ranking of 35th. So we've got a long way to go when you talk about specifically arts and culture investments in the state of California. Next slide. I wanted to also just highlight some work that we've done to understand the context in which you all are, what you're experiencing, why this, what we should be prioritizing in terms of our lobbying and our advocacy efforts. And so you'll see we did a survey. The results of that were released in the end of 2024. Highly recommend, and hopefully someone on the team can also just add the link to that if we have that easily. If not, we'll send it in a follow-up. Incredible report put together also by Tracy Hudak and the field engagement team, none but other folks that supported us on this. But we've got about, almost 16, a little over 1,600 people who responded to it, 1,700. And you can see, I'm not going to read this, you can see sort of what were the highlights, what were the things that really impacts you in terms of your challenges. And of course, number one for both organizations and individual artists in the state of California is insufficient public funding. But we've also seen lack of access to affordable housing as a big issue, being priced out of being able to live and work in communities across California. And then being able to engage patrons at this point, and then lack of support systems for the self-employed, unemployment, healthcare, childcare, and all those things. So these are things that we think about as we're studying the almost 2,400 bills. What are the important places that we should prioritize? Next slide. And this also gives you an idea of some of the things that we found in our survey, which is what we're calling the new normal, which is unfortunately, continued precarity, putting the state's creative economy and cultural identity at risk. Creative innovation and resourcefulness are the hallmarks of how the cultural community responds. So even when things were cut and we didn't have the funds, or we were shut down due to COVID, we know how arts and culture and the creative community rises always to serve our communities, whether it's from food insecurity to sense of belonging, and providing education and providing joy and healing, and health and hope. We know that we always are doing that work. And social justice and equity movements continue to reshape the values and practices of the field. And we're seeing that doubling down, particularly in California, in light of what are the federal executive orders. We're really seeing a continued commitment from many on social justice and equity. And then final thing that we're really also seeing as critical, and I think, those of you are, operating in your own community are probably seeing this need for more collaboration, and also access to infrastructure, so the creative economy infrastructure, those sort of things that really can hold us in terms of ongoing funding, guaranteed basic income, social safety net benefits, access to affordable housing, venues being able to be upgraded, access to things that are going to adopt us as climate change is happening. All of that really is around the concept of infrastructure for the creative economy. Next slide. We'll go into now some of our policy priorities specifically for this budget session, legislative session 25-26. So we'll go to the next slide. That is our beautiful Capitol. The very first thing that we would like to try and get done is restore $5 million to the California Arts Council's budget that we saw that was taken out this last year. While we were successful in getting funding fully restored for the implementation of Senate Bill 1116, the Performing Arts Equitable Payroll Fund, unfortunately, we did lose $5 million, although $10 million was what the governor had put in. We were able to keep 5, we lost the 5. So right now we have a campaign asking you all to send letters to your representatives and to the governor asking for that to be restored. We have some wonderful legislative champions on the Assembly and on the Senate side. On the Assembly Entertainment and Sports and Tourism Chair, Assemblymember Chris Ward of San Diego, was our very first champion to emerge in terms of authoring a letter and requesting that $5 million back. And on the Senate side, Senator Lola Smallwood Cuevas has submitted also a budget request letter to restore that $5 million. In addition, she has, Senator Smallwood Cuevas has also asked for $5 million to be restored to the cultural district's funding. As you recall, again, we lost $20 million to that in 23-24 budget year. And we are, if you are, again, someone who follows the California Arts Council, you'll note that their meeting coming up in April in Pasadena. On the agenda is a discussion item to talk about how they are looking at expanding the designations up to 10 more state cultural districts. But right now, that would not have any funding attached to it. So the goal here would be, let's get at least $5 million put back, and then with those designation comes some funding, right? And then again, how can we get restoring the museum grant funding? We working closely with California Association of Museums, who also just received notice from the Institute of Museum and Library Services at the federal level that they are losing their funding. So lot of impact from the what's happening at the federal level to our infrastructure for the creative economy here in the state of California. So we are trying to restore either the museum grant funding or through the climate bond, which was Prop 4 that has passed. The governor has put his proposal forward in his January budget around what would be in the climate bond implementation, and has not indicated yet that there is funding for cultural institutions, while the bond did have about $45 million for that. So we're looking at hopefully, if not getting the museum grant funding back, at least trying to get some of that funds in Prop 4. So these are the overall budget items that we're looking at the moment. We'll go to the next slide. And for those, I said John there, I mean, for those that are in the film TV, have no fear, we are also supporting the film TV tax credit. We're going to talk about it specifically in terms of legislation as well. Before I get to that, also just going to talk about some bills. So I'll be honest with you, our footprint is growing. We're really based on what we're seeing in terms of the needs of the sector as we're building the coalition across all aspects of the creative economy. We are really looking at other things that could really impact how arts and culture thrives in the state. So we're going beyond, let's say, focus just on the California Arts Council, and also maybe even beyond things that are just specific to the arts. You'll see us talking about housing and other issues. So in this year, we are pleased to be co-sponsoring a bill, SB 456, that is authored by Senator Angelique Ashby of Sacramento, and co-sponsored by Senator John Laird and of Santa Cruz area. And it would amend the State Business and Professions Code to exempt muralists from having to be a licensed painting contractor. We're sponsoring this with the League of California Cities. This has requirement has actually had many cities tell their public arts administrators to stop producing any mural projects at this moment in time. We can account for at least 3 projects across the state that we've heard of, totaling almost $150,000, which is direct jobs for artists that have been halted at this moment in time. So we really want to ensure that artists have jobs, artists are different from a painting contractor. This is fine art, happens to be an exterior potential walls, or interior things like that. But that is what we're working on there. We will have more information if you're interested in that. We have fact sheets, we have all this sort of stuff. We also just did a letter writing campaign on that. We had about 750 individuals and organizations sign on to that, including associations like Visit California, because everyone understands the value of what murals can do in terms of vitality for our local communities, and drawing tourists, and of course, just beautifying and also bringing a lot of meaning and cultural resonance for our communities. In addition, we will be supporting AB 1349, which is authored by Assemblymember Isaac Bryan and co-sponsored by National Independent Venues Association of California and the Music Artists Coalition. This is a continued conversation around ticketing practices. It's banning predatory ticketing practices, speculative ticket sales, deceptive marketing. So in other words, like, if you go to buy a ticket and then you think you're on the venue's website, turns out you're actually not. You might even find out that they actually don't even have those tickets yet, or they're selling you a VIP ticket and there are no VIP tickets. This is a pretty consistent practice that's been happening. We've been working for years trying to get the right legislation to move this forward. We are also working with our nonprofit constituents to make sure that it addresses things like subscription sales, and gift certificates and other specific items that you might have as a nonprofit venue. But we're excited to see this moving forward. And it has, if you read the bill, it really focuses also on artists and what the artists' rights are and needs are in this particular environment. So keep an eye on that one. Next slide. And this is where we're looking at film and TV tax credits. As you might recall, the governor introduced in his January budget $750 million increase in the film TV tax credit. And because it's very well proven that many jobs, in particularly focusing on Los Angeles County, are being lost to other states and Canada and other places because they have more incentives to do productions. And Senator Ben Allen and Assemblymember Zabur and Bryan have introduced legislation that is also starting to really address expanding some of this to more indie films and other types of productions as well. So it's not necessarily just focused on the large studios. We are looking at this with some also other coalition members in terms of folks who are outside of Los Angeles County, and making sure that it addresses, films that want to be made in Central Valley. If you want to be making films in San Diego, you want to be making films in Oakland, San Francisco, and so on. So we're looking at that. We will support a film TV tax credit for sure. And then there is a bill that's been introduced by Assemblymember Matt Haney, and this goes now into specifics around housing, and this is adaptive reuse of buildings. And, again, major issue for artists to be able to afford to live and work in communities across California, not just our urban environments. We actually have an artist housing task force that helps to inform us on these issues. There are a huge host of packages around housing. It is a very, very specific policy area. You need to have a level of expertise. So we're really grateful to our partners who come to these meetings, help and advise us on this. And we'll continue to grow that muscle, as it were, in our shop around housing, because it's such a critical component. And the way that artists live and work might be different, right, than other industries. And we need to continue to educate and talk about things like artist preferences and housing in areas, particularly where we're really making a community vibrant. And when we do that, then it becomes unaffordable for us to stay there. So AB 812 was the first step in that direction, authored by Tasha Borner, that we were the sponsor of. It gives up to 10% of affordable housing in state, local, and county cultural districts. And now we're seeing ways that we can also, reuse buildings, and we want to support Assemblymember Haney's bill. There are some others that we're looking at too. Next slide. But we don't want to totally overwhelm everyone here. it's hard enough to take a look through 2,400 bills, but this is just giving you some highlights. There's also a bill introduced by Assemblymember Caloza. That is the Small Business Recovery Fund Act. This would give $100 million to the Office of Small Business Advocate. It includes nonprofits after a disaster. So, just so much impact to Los Angeles County after the fires, and looking at, resources immediately for businesses, including nonprofits, including small individual LLCs, businesses. How do we do this in a way that if you're an artist business and you have a business license, would you be able to apply for this type of funding? So those are the things that we're looking at there. You've got some bills that are specific to nonprofits, improving state grants and contracting, and state and advancing payments. If those of you who do contracts with the state know that sometimes you're acting as their bank, doing the work and waiting for the check. And so that's really hard on small nonprofits. It makes it difficult for expanding the network of who can apply for these types of grants. So we're in support of those bills. Next slide. And then finally, some topics that you can also be talking about in terms of socialization. We don't have a champion, for example, yet to to restore funding or reinvest in the California Creative Corps, really innovative arts jobs program that had a single investment of $60 million, the single largest appropriation to the California Arts Council. That money has been expended. We've been organizing with the coalition of administering organizations from the Creative Corps to really highlight the impact. The 7,000 jobs that were created for artists during that 1 year program was phenomenal. So we'd love to see that continue. Performing Arts Equitable Payroll Fund, also SB 1116, that we've been working with the California Office of Small Business Advocate in supporting on that grant. Those funds right now, that is actually closed because we had so many people apply immediately, and only so much money out to give out. So, and then we also have $11 million in Arts in the Parks that we'd love to see restored. Again, really impactful, amazing programs. We want to look at how can we increase funding to the California Arts Council 50th year anniversary in 2026. Continued looking at social safety net programs for artists. And then we've really dived into this intersection between arts and health. I think you saw that starting to happen at the federal level under the last administration and the direction of then chair Dr. Maria Rosario Jackson of the NEA. And we'd love to see California lead in that as well. Next slide. Oh, here it is. It looks the same, so I was just spacing out for a second. Okay, so and then yeah, so this is more of the background of some of the things I already talked about. I think we're gonna skip this slide. I'm not exactly sure if I want to go into the case study at this moment in time. Rather give you guys a chance to ask questions. It's a lot of information. I know that this is what we do on a daily, so for us it's kind of secondhand or the back of your hand, however you want to say it. But for those of you who are not in the work of advocacy and lobbying on a daily for arts and culture in the state of California, recognize this is a lot. So I don't want to continue to overwhelm if we are already. I do want to show you the budget timeline. Being an effective advocate is understanding the environment in which you're working, whether that's local, state, or federal, as we've been talking about. So at the top of this, you can see that the budget was announced on January 10th. This is the hearings we're attending is talking about that budget. In many ways, people feel that initial budget this year, because of the environment we're working in with the federal uncertainty, was somewhat of a placeholder. The hearing I attended this week, for example, was just informational. They didn't vote on anything. Everyone's waiting on what they call the May revise. That comes out by May 10th. This April gives us an opportunity to really highlight all the things we just talked about and the real deep importance of how we advocate for continued and hopefully increase and restoration of investments in arts and culture because of all the ways that arts and culture impact our communities, which again, we have tremendous amount of talking points about that as well, which we're not going into great detail here today. So we'll really have a, May revise, May 10th. Stay with us, stay informed, stay on our socials. I'll be honest with you, I'm a bit concerned what could come out in May. With federal uncertainty, now with the stock market, which does impact the state of California as we do tax health higher percentage for folks who have higher incomes. Also, there's a rumor that there's about a $22 billion budget deficit now, instead of that 300 so on million that we predicted in January. So we could see some significant cuts come in May. That's just, I don't have any real intel except just kind of, what we're hearing. So I'd say brace ourselves for May, do our best in April to make the case for arts and culture so we don't see any further cuts from that 70.5 million that we've experienced already. And then we'll keep you guys informed as we continue to do that. The legislative cycle takes longer in terms of there's budget, which is a bill and a legislation, but also like the specific legislation we're tracking, et cetera, will be longer process. Some bills will maybe take a 2 year, and then some will be heard, might be get to the governor's desk by September. So again, stay with us on our advocacy alerts so you aren't informed. Next slide. Good. Got through it. Okay, so I think we're stopping the slides and we're going to go to if there's questions from folks in the webinar. And thanks. I see that question, Leslie. There's a lot of AI bills. Thank you for flagging that. We actually were just asking our own lobbyists which ones he thought we should be tracking. So we will now take a look at AB 412 and the AI Copyright Transparency Act. And Advocacy Day is on April 23rd in Sacramento. We begin in the park at around 8:30. We will start to have speakers at 9. We'll be giving out some legislative awards. Oh, Tracy, you're on screen. I don't know if you know that you're eating your banana on screen. Okay.
Sorry.
It's all good. We're all friends
Family here.
Yeah, it's all good. So yeah, so that's it's actually really empowering. If you've never been to Advocacy Day, and if you're still with us here in the webinar, and if you have, add to the chat, it is thanks, Peter. Yeah, we all need we need some sustenance in these days. It is a fun event. I mean, it's empowering to really speak up for what you believe in. We can influence the system. I know there are times when we all feel very overwhelmed by what we're hearing on a daily. And I think that, local also. So look at what's going on in your local communities. Peter Allen's here with San Jose Arts Advocates. What are you doing? What can you be doing there? What can we be influencing at the state? We are in a state that, despite some of the reductions in funding, does understand the value and importance of arts and culture, but there are going to be a lot of competing needs, as always. So it's really critical that we are folks that show up large, show up loud, show up consistently. It really isn't as impactful if we just do it once. So we ask you all to be there. And yeah, okay, so Kristen asking if SB 46 makes it through committee, is that considered trail? No, so Kristen, it would, if we wanted to see if we can get an urgency clause, would be the way to get it. So legislation is or bills like this, which is the murals bill, would actually then go into effect January 1st. So if you wanted to see it as an urgency clause, the only consideration there, I think it has to have a 2/3 majority vote. I think it's that. Apologies, I don't remember now off the top of my head. And so I think we need to make sure that could be safe before we would bring that up. But at this point, we're taking it through the regular legislative process, and it would be January 1st if we get it through.
There will be another space in the webinar to ask Advocacy Day questions, because we do want to orient you all on for those that are attending. So if you could hold Advocacy Day questions, and we'll focus with Julie on policy, and that'd be great.
I love all the questions about what to wear. See,
Yeah.
this is such a creative community. We're like, well, what can we actually wear? That's, and yes, I say definitely be yourself. That's the most important thing. And Leslie, thank you. We will take a look at that bill. Investment versus impact slide. If there's source that compiles this data on a city level? Great question, Margaret. I know the Otis report has some of that information for the state of California that just came out. Honestly, I have not had a chance to really deep dive into the Otis report. I think it came out late last week. There isn't Tracy, can you think of other sources?
Yeah, I responded in the Q&A. Really, the way to advocate for that is to connect with your local economic development entity, whether it's the city community development department, if you have a small business development like in the regional small business development, they poll that research. And I think, Margaret, you mentioned you're in Oakland and San Francisco. I would really recommend connecting with Rachel Osajima, who is the director of the Alameda County Arts Commission. And there's a number of Oakland activists. And actually, if you're coming to Advocacy Day,
Yeah.
you can connect with your regional folks.
Oakland actually just did an economic report with Adam Fowler from Civil Economics, longtime creative economy person, and they just released. I think they released that data at a local chamber event. So I think there is specific Oakland, Margaret, information, and I'll try and locate that. And if I find it while we're still on here, I'll put it. I can't access you specifically in the chat, but maybe somebody else can. And then San Francisco, Ralph Remington at the Arts Commission might have, or like economic development, as Tracy was saying. There's also Arts for a Better Bay Area, the San Francisco Arts Alliance that might have some of that data as well. But those are really important questions because every one of you, in terms of your local community, it would be great to have that level of detail of information in terms of, how many jobs, how much economic impact to a community. There's also the AEP reports, the Arts and Economic Prosperity reports that the Americans for the Arts did, and some counties across the state have done those. I think I saw Jackie here. I think maybe Jackie, you did one. So those are some other resources. Okay, Sarah, reopening up the cultural district program again is key for many of the development, marketing, tourism, and program calls that we each may have. Any suggestions on how to advocate for that program reopening, even if the state can't fund the program? Yes. So this next California Arts Council meeting, which I believe is April 11th, and they have it on the agenda. The packet I don't think is out yet, but the agenda is out. And there is a discussion item where they're talking about the timeline and the process for reopening the California Arts Council's Cultural Districts program to designate 10 new cultural districts. And that you're right, Sarah, unless we can get 5 million with Senator Smallwood Cuevas's support back into the budget this year, it would be without a designation. And thank you, Jenica has put in the chat the actual agenda for next week's. And so the way you can do it, Sarah, of course, this, Sarah's an excellent advocate out there, is show up, make public comment, listen to what they say. They always have public comment after each item now, so you can make a public comment about how important that is. Any other questions? Otherwise, I appreciate all of you for being here. This is being recorded, so afterwards we will share it out. If there are other people who are not able to make it today, if you would share that with them, we would really appreciate it. Amazing resources being put together by Tracy and her team on talking points for Advocacy Day that you can also use in your local districts or on Advocacy Day, and really great overview of all the different things that we will be supporting. And I'll just say this too, in terms of legislation specifically, somebody brought to our attention, for example, one of the AI bills. If there are other bills that you notice and you want us to weigh in on or think about, please do email us. I will put my own email in the, or somebody can put my email in the chat. And then also, the other thing about legislation is this, it changes, right? So amendments happen. So what you see today, it might start to change in terms of the language that's in there, and you can influence bills to be amended towards a way that you think might be best serve our sector. So that's another thing. As you look at these bills and you say, well, actually, it needs to say more like this because this is my lived experience. Remember, lawmakers are doing what they think is the right thing. Hopefully, they're good advocates in the room working with them and sponsors and everything. But if you have the lived experience, you can really influence how those things might change and shift in terms of amendments to bills as well. Bill hearings happen all throughout. They get referred to different committees. Typically, you don't really have much of a chance to make live public comment in those, except for whether you support or oppose the bill, but you can submit letters and saying, what your concerns might be about a specific bill. And again, we're happy to help you with that. So my email's in the chat. Tracy will put hers in there as well. And again, thank you so much for attending and for your advocacy. We cannot do this work without you. I will say this final thing I will say. This is a numbers game. Assemblymember Chris Ward told us this. We have a video of him telling us this. They absolutely will look at how many people are talking about a specific issue. So if there's 870,000 arts workers in the state of California, and we're getting about 1,200. I think last year we were able to get like 7,000 letters in, which was great, or more, Tracy, I can't remember. But we need all of you to share this information. 870,000 arts workers need to be raising their voices in the state of California. And that's how we will see significant investment and change. And they're starting to do that through things like the film TV tax credit with that coalition. We need to do that on the same side for arts and culture because we are all part of the same ecosystem. And in many ways, arts and culture is the incubator for that film and TV, right? Or people are going back and forth between us. We are one and we need to work together. So thanks, everybody. And Tracy, I'll hand it off to you unless you have a question or something you want me to comment on.
Yeah, I do, Julie. Well, I do. I want to two things. One is I want to riff on what you just suggested. The difference between being an advocate and creating a movement is if you're taking an action, share it with 5 people that trust your judgment. That will really help amplify what's going on. And then, Julie, you just spent a lot of time on the Capitol this week in different meetings, and any insights to share? I know you talked about the personal impact story that made a
Oh,
difference. If
yeah,
you could talk about some of that.
yeah, thanks for that reminder, Tracy. So there was a hearing this week on the Assembly Budget Sub 5, where the $5 million being restored was actually a question by the panel. That was the staff suggested that to be a question, and so we wanted to make sure we were there. We showed up to make our public comment, but we had a wonderful advocate with us, Jenny Darlington Person, who now runs the Placer County Arts Council, and I had whispered to her that the chair, Sharon Crook Silva, a wonderful also art supporter, has an education background, had been a teacher. And so, and then in the beginning, we thought we had 2 minutes, and then public comment turned to 30 seconds, right? This is what happens. So Jenny very quickly changed her public comment. I did sort of the big picture, more kind of lobbying, numbers and this and that. And instead, she told the story of a young person because of the programs that the California Arts Council grants provides, had totally changed his life, and that his mother saw her on the street and said, now he's going to college, he's getting honors and whatever. She just went through this really great story. She told much better than I did. And afterwards, the chair, Sharon Quirk Silva, said, that was excellent testimony. We don't hear enough of that. We don't hear enough of the impacts. So what I would share with you is that we can give all the data in the world. They see the data. We're going to hammer that data home in terms of, the impact, the economic impact, the number of jobs, all this sort of stuff. But tell your individual impact story, whether your program, who they're impacting, or what it's done for your own life, and get it out of them too in terms of what it brings to them. So I would suggest that was something that we definitely saw impactful there. But I think the most, thing that I think we're seeing in terms of at least the budget process is that really it's all about what comes out in May. I love all these comments and people helping each other. This is so great. And Yay, thank you, Leslie. We look forward to working with you. And thank you for being here. And it's great to have everyone here. And in the past, I'll be honest with you, we used to get hundreds of people attending these webinars. And I'm gonna just be honest, it's not as big. And I don't think that's because there's a lack of interest. I think it's because there is so much noise out there in terms of messages. So we need your help to get these messages out. We have a very, very active email, and we have a very active, particularly LinkedIn and Instagram. And if you see our stuff, please do share it. It helps us to get the word out because we need, again, 870,000 arts advocates for art, in order for us to truly see transformative arts and culture investments worthy of what you all do in your communities.
Great. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Julie. And Jenica, if you could launch the poll, get a sense of who's in the room and where to kind of focus our attention on the resources that we have to share. If you could answer the question of your experience level, that'd be really helpful. And I will go ahead and share my screen and keep us going in the conversation. We'll keep that poll open for a couple of minutes. Oh, I can't vote on the poll myself. All right, sorry, I'm just firing up my screen share here. Sorry, my apologies. Great. Okay, so just moving on to take a little bit just to kind of tee us up for thinking about some of our goals in advocating this year. And anytime you want to talk to decision makers in your community. Oh, great. What a great mix of people. Thank you, everybody. Fantastic. Great. And just wanted to bring back up just the distinction between lobbying and advocacy. And yes, nonprofits can lobby. We have a great video on kind of the legal ins and outs of that. That's in our video library on our website. But lobbying, we really want to think about in terms of directly influencing a piece of legislation, directly advocating for a particular elected somebody running for office, et cetera. And then advocacy is really about education, will building, and providing direction to decision makers in terms of actions that they can take. And advocacy can include doing a public. You can decide that your target is a lawmaker. It could also be the public in terms of changing public will and public opinion, or influencers in your community, folks that are great lever points for making things happen. Those can be your, we can use the word target, but that can be your audience for where you think you can make the most difference. And so public information and campaigns, issue identification, research and analysis. You can be the expert or work with a group of people to be the expert on a particular topic, whether it's just the impact of a particular funding change in your community and how that's touching people's lives, et cetera. It doesn't have to be deep dive research, but you are the expert on what's happening in your community, both what you're making happen, what you could make happen if adequately resourced, and or how things are impacting folks. And then building relationships with elected officials. That's really an ongoing effort and an ongoing, I'll say, important thing to spend time on. Your elected officials might move from city council to county supervisor to a state legislator. You might have a relationship with a staff person in community development in your city that ends up working for the board of supervisors. And so just keeping an ongoing conversation going, inviting people to your events, coming to them with insights and information, et cetera, and opportunities to take action. And then effective advocacy, having a clear strategy a clear intent in terms of why you're engaging with a particular decision maker and what results you might want to have. And that could be it could be about a piece of legislation or something that you want to actually influence, or a decision you want to influence. And it could also just be educating, bringing them on board, letting them know what's happening, that the strategy is self-defined. And then effective storytelling, if you can bring data in with personal impact. Although we do find that the arts and our stories and what you all are making happen in your community, that really ignites pride and love of place in civic leaders in the same way that it does in all of us. And so often our stories about what we're making happen can be build that connection, build that relationship, build that inspiration. And again, relationship building. And then offering solutions. Really, one of the things that we're trying to undo in our large culture is the perception that the arts are an amenity, or the arts are extra, the arts are over here, and really coming through with framing and language about how we're partners, and how so much of what you all are doing can help address civic and state level issues. And so coming to the table as a partner with solutions and ideas, coming to the table with a particular bill that you think would be effective, or an ordinance, or giving insights into how that particular bill or ordinance is impacting the community and how it has to change, etc. So coming to the table with actionable things is really helpful. They like to take action. And we really think about successful advocacy and how do you measure if you're making a difference is kind of a continuum from actually having a relationship to educating, growing their knowledge, growing their investment in what you're bringing to the table, educating them on issues, letting them know about specific issues. So they're both educating them on the value of arts, culture, creativity, culture bearers, artists, creative businesses, cultural organizations, and on the issues impacting all of us. And then if you can sense a shift in their position, have they changed in awareness? Is there a way? There's folks in government who feel really strongly, have very strong and different opinions about what government funding should go to. How can you change that perception? How do we talk about public benefit and being met with public investment, things like that, and presenting them with an action to take if they're able to take it, and creating an arts champion, someone who ends up going to the mat for issues that are happening to the creative community. And then we're going to give you a whirlwind tour of some of the lawmaker meeting resources that we have for you. And I'm going to show some documents, take my screen down for a second. So what Julie just covered, we have some background material for a policy priorities document, which provides background information on the policy issues we're supporting this year. And folks can use that as a leave behind for their legislator meetings, a talking points document, and then will be, there's a folder for lawmaker meetings. And then there's a separate folder for Advocacy Day, folks, that also includes contact lists. So you can reach out to folks in your, that are also in your meetings, maps, etc. And also for anyone, our Activate the State Lawmakers Toolkit. I'm going to show you all of these things right now, or just give you a bit quick. Sorry, excuse me. So let me go back to sharing. Apologies here. Okay, so our policy priorities. In the lawmaker resources folder, we'll be sharing these links with you in follow-up emails. There's a print quality policy priority doc. For those coming to Advocacy Day, we will have a packet for you printed with policy priorities, any legislation fact sheets. Some of the legislation that we're supporting will also have fact sheets for you to provide to lawmakers in terms of the items that you're going to be advocating for. And just to show, this is kind of the background leave behind policy priority document. It's got a kind of setting the context first page, and then it goes into some items related to specific policies. So that's the policy priority document. And again, you can email this to your lawmakers, or it's what we call a leave behind. And then the talking points are it's a template for you to copy and make your own copy and create your own script of the meeting that you want to have with your lawmakers. And I'll just show you a couple features here, and then we'll move on. But these are the policy items that are included in the talking points doc. And you might get together with your group of advocates and decide which of these policies resonate most with the people in the room. You don't have to, and we recommend in lawmaker meetings, pick 1, 2, 4. It's a short amount of time. You're welcome to just pick one. But this is essentially the menu of policies that we're supporting this year. And then for each of these, this document also has kind of a script of guidelines for how you might want you kick off your meeting and set the stage with the legislator, or you can use this as a template for a local meeting as well. It's a tool that's adaptable. Giving them some context points. You can select some of these, you don't have to say them all. But then when you get into the policy items, we've included some background points. We really recommend folks add their own story, their own impact story to make what we're saying really real and alive. And then an ask. What's the ask for each of these items? So again, these are things that CAA, California Arts Advocates, is supporting this year. You make this your own. It's a menu of background materials and a strategy for how to have a conversation, and copy it and edit it for your groups. And I'm going to scroll to the very bottom real quick, so you might want to close your eyes so you don't get dizzy, because we are also including, we really encourage people to research their lawmakers before sitting down with them, and we're populating this document with policies, lawmakers and certain policies, whether they're supporting the ones in the document here, or related housing, film related bills. So you might want to check this reference page out to see if your lawmaker, you also need to add a thank you to them or be aware of other things they're working on. So this will be live, and we'll be populating this over the next couple of weeks before Advocacy Day. And then in terms of our lawmakers toolkit, that is something that you can download, and we'll put the link in the chat if you don't already have it. And the toolkit is designed to give you all the resources you need to either help us lead meetings at Advocacy Day, or to create your own meeting in your district. Lawmakers will be in what's called in district. The legislature will be on recess between April 13th and the 18th. So if you want to meet with them in person or anytime on Zoom, the Lawmaker Toolkit has all the resources you need. And that includes just identifying and researching lawmakers, requesting and scheduling meetings. We have an email template in terms of that you can copy and paste in terms of requesting a meeting, as well as a legislator contact list, recruiting advocates, how to prep your team with the talking points, contacting your lawmakers. And we really ask that conducting your meeting, I mean the shape of the meeting and facilitating. And we really ask that you follow up with us with a captain's report, if you meet with lawmakers in this year, and at any point the budget items will be resolved in June, but there will be continued negotiations around legislation through the summer. So stay tuned for all that. But we really want to know about your meetings, and really recommend, or really hope that you'll submit captain's reports and let us know what connections you made and where your lawmakers stand on the topics that you brought up. And then I also wanted to flag for you, this is in the Lawmaker Toolkit, and we'll also include this in maybe the legislator meeting folder to help folks prep. But these are the key California committees, Assembly, Senate, and joint committees that govern arts spending or arts related spending. The California Arts Council budget is reviewed in Senate sub 4, Assembly sub 5. Arts and Policy, the Joint Committee in the Arts, which is the Senate and Assembly, and the Arts, Entertainment, Sports, and Tourism Committees. Those are really important to us. And if you click on these, they go to the committee websites, and you can see who the folks are in those committees. And so that's really good knowledge to have on hand if you go into meetings with lawmakers. And then the Arts and the Parks and Museum fundings, that was handled under Resources and Environment Committees, which is interesting. And then we also partner in Advocacy Day, on Arts Advocacy Day, with Create California, and we will have their arts education policy asks and talking points to add. And so education committee folks are important to be aware of. Then wanted to just share some tips related to preparing for lawmaker meetings, whether you're doing yours on Zoom or at Advocacy Day. And then after this, we'll shift into talking about Advocacy Day. And also really ask anybody, a lot of you are experienced in the webinar, if you've got particular tips for scheduling, for prepping your team, and or for successful meetings. We would love to have those in the chat. So I'll just touch on a couple of these, and then I'd love for my field engagement team to pop on Jenica and Jennifer and say hello, and we'll take us on out from here together. In terms of scheduling, again, there's the resources in the toolkit, and if for folks who are captains for Advocacy Day, we will show you the Advocacy Day website and how to book, share with us your book meetings, et cetera, in a second. But if you're having any trouble getting folks to respond to meetings, et cetera, really, you can also pick up the phone and call the district office. The district office can be really helpful with the calendar as well. And then and for Advocacy Day, any changes as your meetings, if you get have changes in time and et cetera, please update Jennifer, our captain coordinator. And if Jennifer and Jenica could say hello. Jenica is our field engagement coordinator, and Jennifer is managing Captain Corps for us, the captains for Advocacy Day. And then in terms of preparing, we for the meeting already made some suggestions for researching your lawmakers and organizing talking points with your groups. And for Advocacy Day, folks, please read all our emails, every one of them, because we are working with a new system in terms of the registration and communication systems. I want to make sure you catch everything, and we're trying to keep them to a minimum, but we really do need you to plug into those. And check the info site, which we will share. And then in terms of being successful, being on time really is a big deal. They have very little time. They're very busy. So just, I hate to say that to a group of adults, but I have to say it to myself sometimes. Personal impact stories are powerful, as Julie indicated from her hearing this week, and follow up and build that relationship. So like, for example, the policy priorities document, that's a great excuse to follow up with an email and a thank you. We also ask for Advocacy Day and lawmaker meetings for Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month that you to request a picture, post that on socials, and tag us, tag your lawmaker. And does anybody else have any tips to add to this? Any insights for folks? Okay. And any questions I'm going to very cleanly transition to Advocacy Day in case there are folks on who aren't going to participate in Advocacy Day and they know they can jump off and they've had their questions and answered. So if there are any questions about the lawmaker resources or lawmaker meeting resources or about effective advocacy, if you want to ask those now, and we'll save Advocacy Day questions for the next couple of minutes. Not seeing anything in the chat, I don't think. Okay.
Tracy,
Jenica, yeah.
Yeah, there is someone who has raised their hand. If you want to put your question in the chat, we're more than happy to answer. So
Yeah, why can't I see the chat? Okay, there it is. Because I'm screen sharing, I'm not able to see the chat. So I'll keep going, and then when they get that in the chat, can somebody flag it for us? Thank you. Okay. And Jenica, would you like to tell us what to expect for Arts Advocacy Day?
sure, yes. Hello, everybody. Okay, so we're gonna be wearing green this year. Give us some pop. What you expect, checking in at 8:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. We'll have a couple of stations. So if you're an advocate, you'll look for the advocate station. If you're a captain, you look for Jennifer at our captain station. And there's other stations. So just be on the lookout and we'll check you in. You'll get ready. There'll be a rally at 9 to 10:30. We have some performances. We have folks speaking. So it'll be a great energizing event in the morning. And then once that's over, we'll have some meetings with lawmakers. You'll get into your groups. Captains definitely recommend checking in, getting all of your groups together. There's always going to be some fluctuations in schedules. So, that's something just keep in mind of if you're going to be a new captain. And so we'll be probably taking attendance, making sure everyone's good to go. And then, you'll head off to your meetings, keep in contact with your advocates. And then you'll do your meetings, have a plan. Make sure everyone has your contact info. All this stuff about designating folks to speak, having someone taking notes, etc. Seeing how the lawmaker supports what our asks are. Take photos, tag us on social media, do our hashtags for ACCM, just to keep getting that word out, building that, building our advocate base, all of that sort of thing. And yeah, be early, as Tracy said, want to keep on time. Lawmakers are super busy, so we want to also make that great impression of being on time and being present. So
Couple of questions in the chat. The social media, when to post. You can post live if you like, or after. And then we will have an everything you need for Advocacy Day sheet that will have hashtags and links to the booked meeting for the captain's report form and things like that. So I'm sorry I don't have the there these hashtags. Oh, sorry, they're there. So you can post live if you're up for it, or after is great. And then green, any hue is fine. It's spring, and we're thinking that we're gonna have people interpret that. Okay. Oh, thank you. Yes. Word of advice, building where their office have security and screening and will be very busy. Yeah. Give yourself at least 15 minutes and to get through security. And we kind of wanted to show the map too, to give a sense of distance. And Natalia noted that wearing comfortable shoes is important. It's really not that far. We don't have, this is the map from 2024. I'm just going to jump in for a second, Jenica, but we will have a location in the park. We don't have the exact location just yet. We will have a chill space. And last year it was right here across from the park. We're still confirming the space, but that's a space where you can land for the day if you're in between meetings, if you want to get your group together and get organized. We'll have that ready. We'll have that address mapped out for you. And then the swing space, this is where all of the legislator offices are. And it's really just 2 blocks from the rally, 2 or maybe 1 or 2, depending, 1 block, 2 blocks this way, 1 block that way, kind of a thing, 2 to 4 blocks. So that is is the same location where all the meetings are going to be this year. But again, we'll let you know where the chill space is. It'll be in between the rally spot and the exact rally spot. We're still getting our permit there. And then if you need additional support, please drop in to our captain and advocate office hours and visit our Advocacy Day info site. I'm going to turn the rest of the conversation over to Jennifer. And Jennifer, I'll be your visual. I'll provide the visuals for what you want to share about, but we'll start first with the orienting on the app.
Yeah, sure. I think I'm going to kind of go backwards first and orienting on the info site and working our way towards the app.
Okay,
Tracy,
cool.
so I can screen share for now while my internet is good and stable right now. So hi, everybody. Looking forward to seeing you all for Arts Advocacy Day 2025. Let me go ahead and lock my screen here. Okay, so Make sure you all. All right, can you all see my screen? Yes, awesome. Okay, so exciting number to share with you so far. As of today, we have almost 250 advocates signed up to join us on April 23rd at Capitol Park. So hooray. And out of those 250 people, 50 of you all are captains leading the way. So thank you so much for your leadership. So captains are the ones that are scheduling meetings with the lawmaker's office. And then once we submit all of our contact info of the advocates to the captains, they will be the ones kind of spearheading the organization, disseminating the talking points that our team has put together, all the resources. So kudos to all the captains and advocates. And across the board, we are aiming to meet with all 120 lawmakers. So again, thank you, captains, for making that home stretch of trying to get these meetings scheduled, because we know they all have busy days. So we all know that. So make sure you follow up as well with phone calls and emails. So this is Arts Advocacy Day's site, which the link has been shared. I'm sure we'll be sharing in the chat and follow up information as well. So we're encouraging anyone that would like to participate on Advocacy Day to attend meetings to register by April 4th. That way we can try to get everything as tidied up as possible. However, if for some reason you want to join last minute and are unable to attend the meeting, please still come check out the rally happening in the morning that we've been talking about. And we'll have those leave behind packets. We need anyone to kind of go to the offices to drop off anything. And Tracy, Jenica, please jump in if I am missing any points for certain sections. And so when you go to the website here, there's all the information here for you. It's being updated. And if you have not signed up and you are still interested, feel free to click on the Find Your Lawmakers page, which will bring you here. You would enter your address in here, and then you will know exactly who the names of your lawmakers will be. Okay, and then going to registration. So please note that when you register, it looks like this right now. And you'll see that they are, here we go, April 23rd for Advocacy Day right here. So just please note that if there are no times listed directly to the left of the meeting name, that just means that our captain is still currently waiting to get that scheduled and waiting for the lawmaker's office to get back to us. So for example, here you will see Joe Patterson has been scheduled at 11 to 11:30. Maggie has not been scheduled. Just make sure you kind of keep your eye out for that. And you're able to see how many spots are remaining, how many are at capacity. Most meetings are capped at 10 people. There are some variability with certain meetings too. So this is how it will look like in the registration page. Now to look at who is currently signed up, if you look at our agenda page, you'll see here that you have the meeting name, the captain's name. If there are no names after the meeting, that means we are still looking for a captain to fill in that spot. So if you see a missing one and you're interested, please email us. And you also see the location. And you can also click the little orange eye symbol, which will bring you a pop-up window. And if you click on to see who is registered, currently right now, you will see all the advocates, including the captain, that is scheduled to attend that meeting. Okay. And then I also wanted to know that April 18th is any last minute changes. We definitely, hopefully, aiming for close to all 120 meetings. We definitely don't want to lose this opportunity to speak with lawmakers about important state arts policies. Go ahead and switch over now to can everybody see the slide here with the app? Awesome. So now we had just launched our app last week. So please know when you download the app, you can click on the agenda icon here, which will bring you all of the agenda happening for both the summit the day before and Arts Advocacy Day. And please note that when you click on the star, it just adds that agenda to your own view, okay? And you can see there's a regular agenda tab and a My Agenda tab. Very important to know that if you are starring the session, that is only adding it to a calendar. It does not mean you are actually signed up for that session. So make sure if you want to make sure that you are in the session, that you go to the registration site and select as is. And also another important thing to note is in your registration, please note your cell phone number and not a landline, because it's important for our captains to be able to reach out to you, advocates, if there are any last minute changes. Okay, and then once you click into one of these meetings, you will see here similar to the pop-up earlier on the registration site, a way to look at the advocates signed up. So we are going to be closing the registration for the meetings end of day April 4th tomorrow. And then starting April 5th, we will be messaging out to everyone signed up, all of the contact, emails and phones of everyone that are signed up for meetings at this moment. And we're also happy to meet with you all at our 2 last Alphas hours tomorrow, the 4th, and then again on April 11th. So go ahead and stop screen sharing. And Tracy, Jenica, feel free to jump in if I've missed any important points.
Yeah, I went in terms of the drop-in office hours. If you go to that Advocacy Day site, the Zoom link is on the info page, and you can just jump in and join us. There's a question about wait lists. So as soon as we close registration tomorrow, contact lists will be distributed to everybody who's registered so that you can contact each other and say, okay, contact the captain. Can I get on the wait list? And the captain's supposed to communicate with everybody signed up. If your meeting doesn't have a captain, you can connect with each other to see who's going to get those meetings scheduled. And if for any reason your meeting isn't scheduled, we will have packets, which will have a poster and the policy priorities and any fact sheets that you can take to legislator offices that don't have meetings, and go connect with them in their office and say hi. We will connect on the hour at the chill space, like probably 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, for anybody that doesn't have a meeting and wants to take a packet and go make friends in the swing space in the office buildings. And that was really fun. People had a great time doing that last year. And then how do we know which lawmakers to meet with? My legislators, really, they want to meet with their constituents. If you represent a region, if you represent someone, an area of the field that you think a particular lawmaker should learn about or hear from you, we can make some suggestions about that. I recommend coming to office hours with that question. That'd be really helpful, and we can help you strategize where to plug your story in best. We would be happy to do that in the office hours tomorrow, 12 to 1, or next Friday, 12 to 1. Any other questions? Thank you. Yeah, we'll get the contact info out. And we are at time in terms of what we asked of you to be with us. So if anybody needs to jump off, we understand. We just have a kind of a wrap up thank you to our sponsors, and then how to stay connected with us. But we can share these links in the follow-up email, which will have this deck and the policy priorities, talking points, links to the resources that we mentioned in the webinar today. And does anybody else have any other questions? Send the link to office hours. Sure. Yeah, we'll do that. That's a great idea. We'll do that in the follow-up email. Great. Great, everyone. Thank you so much for being with us.